Oh, welcome to Comfort Legacies with Faye Michelle. And today we
Right.
have a special guest, Dr. Mark Echols, and he's going to tell us about himself. And we're going to get started on knowing more about his book. Go
Okay.
ahead, Doctor.
I'm not that interesting, but
Sure.
mostly about me. I have a doctorate in human behavior with a particular focus on Black families and relationships. I'm a father of four, three beautiful daughters, and a very handsome son. I am a husband, African American man who's married to a beautiful woman that's originally from Barbados. And that pretty much is the subject and background of my book.
Okay. All right. I did look at your book and I thought that was very interesting topic.
Thank you.
I've been watching some movies and that subject matter did come up. So what was it that brought you to wanting to write about the subject matter? I know you met your wife and she's from Barbados, but was there something that made you think that there was something unique about writing a story about it?
Yeah, absolutely. The book is pretty much about my personal experiences
Okay.
and what I have observed in being in these types of relationships for the past 20 years. Really, more than 20 years. I've been in African diaspora relationships exclusively. And the term African diaspora relationships is absolutely one that I created to describe and discuss relationships with two Black people from different countries. So more than likely, what that is going to look like is a African American who is dating and or married to someone from Africa or from the Caribbean or someone of African descent from South or Central America, or even someone of African descent from Europe. So I noticed that there pretty much was a gap in the narrative about these relationships. It's kind of a subgroup within a group, a minority within a minority. You don't see too much conversation about two Black people from different cultures. So I wanted to pretty much bridge that gap.
That's fascinating. And getting your doctorate, were you thinking about what was your dissertation on? Was it similar, or this is just something totally different?
Ironically, no, my dissertation was not on that. That's when I was going for my master's degree. I kind of dabbled in it, but for my doctorate, I focused more on resiliency and African American youth. But
Oh,
African diaspora relationships has always been my passion. It is something that I've continuously done research on, continuously talk about, continuously study and reach out to others. So this particular book, even though I didn't study in school, it really has been 20 years in the making.
really? Okay. So how long have you been married?
I have been married to my wife going for 9 years. Uh, we are approaching our 10 years knowing each other.
Oh, congratulations. I've been married for 35 years and I should just probably do a book on that. But
We
but
we'll be there. We'll be
we're
there.
really exciting. So tell me, what are some of the differences do you think um, is caused behind being in a diasporan relationship versus just common cultures?
I'm glad you asked that question. Uh, in terms of my dating history, uh, I've always dated Black women. That's what I'm attracted to. So prior to getting into the African diaspora relationships, I dated African American women exclusively. And pretty much what happened was I grew up in the Midwest. I'm originally from Chicago, and I did not tend to interact with women from the Caribbean and Africa where I grew up. But in my mid 20s, I moved to New York City.
Mm,
And anyone that is familiar with New York City would know that it's very diverse.
very.
You have people from all over the world. And you don't just have diversity, within the general population. You have people from all over Europe. You have people from Asia, and the Black population in particular is very diverse in New York City. About a third of the Black population in New York is foreign born, uh, primarily from Africa or the Caribbean. So, and depending on the borough that you live in, that percentage could be even higher. So, moving out to New York as a single man interested in Black women, the majority of the women that I was encountering were African or Caribbean. And
Mm,
um, I found that ultimately it didn't matter to me where they were from. I was attracted to them. They were attracted to the type of man that I was, being educated, well spoken, family oriented. It was a mutual attraction. So my experience dating them was different than anything I had ever encountered before.
mm.
Uh, just they listened to different music. They ate different type of food that I wasn't used to. I was very American in my culinary taste. I was pizza and hamburgers mainly,
Okay.
some fried chicken, and then I was introduced to African dishes, jollof rice, fufu, jerk chicken, uh, roti. So all these different dishes I was introduced to and was very unfamiliar with, but I knew in order to be successful in these relationships and these interactions, I needed to be more open-minded. So being open-minded to those experiences and expecting that there is going to be a difference, I found was successful, was important for the success of these relationships. And it's one of many things I wanted others that may be familiar in these type of relationships to be aware of.
Okay, so you're saying that the way to your heart was through your stomach, but that's just a little
Like
joke.
many men, yeah, that was one of the things.
Okay, okay, okay. So I can really appreciate that. You're saying it was a different culture. You were getting to know um different foods, different approaches to different things. Would you say that your dating experience before you moved to New York, you've always dated African American women?
Yes.
What type of experience did you have before coming into the culture?
I wouldn't say, I mean, I had negative experiences. I had the typical type of this relationship experiences that someone has when they're young. Some were casual dating, some were more serious. Some you came from a different type of family environment. I come from a more traditional family environment. My parents have been married for 52 years. So, I've always been family oriented in that respect. Some of the women that I was would date were kind of less family oriented. It's always been very studious. Some would say nerdy. This is something that, I will accept. So I may not have had the appeal that some men might have. So that's what I typically experience prior to. Some nice girls, but nothing lasting.
Okay. So do you think that perhaps you just didn't find the right person during your dating experiences while you were before you came to New York?
I think pretty much the results pretty much speak for themselves. So, I mean, they weren't lasting relationships. So,
Yes.
there was not the connection that I eventually found
Uh,
within the diasporan community.
yes.
Let's just say that in
Okay.
a nutshell.
That explains that. What I was really trying to get at was sometimes with the mixed, diverse situations going on in relationships, people tend to pick out certain things that they like or they dislike about a culture. I don't really feel that that's what you're feeling at all. That's why I asked you. They were pretty common relationships. You just didn't vibe, and you found something new, and it just happened to be the perfect situation for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I find the subject matter just so fascinating because, like you said, no one has ever really, well, you came up with the term yourself, and it's really attribute to the writing world to bring such enlightenment on the subject matter. It could be overlooked that there is some differences as African American and different cultures, so I can really appreciate that. And is there more that you tell in the book?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to piggyback on what you were saying, what makes these relationships so special and unique to me, and while at the same time causes them to be overlooked, is that when you see a Black couple that comes from two different cultures,
Yeah.
most people on the surface just sees a Black couple, just like any other Black couple. So, you
Yes.
see a couple like my wife, an African American man and a Caribbean woman. You just see a Black man and a Black woman.
Yeah.
And because of that, you can overlook the cultural exchange that happens within these relationships and is necessary for these type of relationships to be successful. So that's one of the aspects that I think is just so beautiful. And just another thing going back to my perspective and coming up in, but I think helped me be prepared for these type of relationships. It's also I studied Black and African diaspora history in school. So I was kind of familiar with these types of cultures. And just growing up, I did not have the separation that some in the African American community typically may have. They might look at someone from Africa as being, oh, they from over there. They're not like us. They're like other. Or Caribbean, the same thing. To me, they've always been my brothers and sisters that just happen to be born somewhere else.
Yes, absolutely. I have lots of friends. I have friends in Cameroon and Trinidad. So I understand that the culture is totally different. Beautiful, wow, in so many ways. They just had a very, very rich connecting culture. And I remember one incident. My friend, she's from Cameroon, and they would have family meetings, family gatherings. Very, very. I wouldn't say a hierarchy type of thing, but very, very bonded and be different. Definitely is. Of course, you feel that it's different. You wrote a book about it, so that has to be an awesome experience just to know and to be able to bring that forth to the world and let us know just because our skin color, our skin tones are the same, we are still different and coming from different places, so.
Absolutely. Another experience too that is common in African diaspora relationships is the opportunity to travel and see the world. This again ties into what you were saying about the different experiences. Because of these type of relationships, I've had the opportunity to travel to different countries. I've been to several countries in Europe. I've been to Spain. I've been gone to the Caribbean. I've visited my wife's country, Barbados. I've been to Bermuda. I've been to
Oh,
Africa. I've been to Ghana. And in my book, I describe, the experience of traveling, and I compared it to watching TV on a black and white 19-inch screen all your life, and then suddenly having a
oh,
70-inch 4K HD TV. You just see the world in an entirely new way, and that's
that
where
is
I like to
awesome.
travel.
Wow, I can understand. That is awesome. Uh, my sister was dating someone. She all her life from the Caribbean, and she was always traveling, and we'd never know where she was because she would always pick up and just leave. She loved traveling. They were from Dominican Republic, and she just got so much enrichment behind it. Um, Studying herbs, learning how to heal in different ways, because of the culture.
Yeah.
So
The traveling, just again seeing the world in a different way. It's all part of the experiences. And you had mentioned just talking more about the book. Pretty much my approach from the book is because I feel that this is a population that does not get the attention that it deserves when you're talking about Black relationships. I pretty much took a comprehensive approach to African diaspora relationships. So I'll hold the book up slightly here. African diaspora
absolutely,
relationship.
it's a beautiful cover.
Thank
Look,
you.
I love it.
So I pretty much took a comprehensive look and approach to African diaspora relationships, making the assumption that most of my readers may be unfamiliar, and just introducing African diaspora relationships to the public. So I wanted to answer every possible question that someone may have about these relationships. So I went from an academic approach,
Mhm.
explaining what it is,
Absolutely.
explaining what the African diaspora is, trying to do a statistical look at exactly how many Black people are in these type of relationships. That was
Mhm.
difficult because, again,
No
it's,
study.
yeah, most people kind of overlook us.
Right.
Okay. What
Did
I
you
did,
find any studies?
I did find some. Some were older. None of them really went into the extent that I wanted to. One study did estimate that about 3% of Black couples are in African diaspora relationships. The majority are African American and Caribbean, but there are African American and African as well.
Were you received well by the family, by your wife's family?
I was. I am aware of some that have had some struggles in getting the family to accept being in this type of relationships. I was pretty blessed. My parents are pretty open minded, so they didn't really have an issue. And actually, ironically, my eldest brother, I'm the youngest of three boys. My eldest brother is actually married to a Jamaican woman, so
Okay.
so
So
they
it worked.
I had it before.
Okay. And what about your family? I know your youngest brother. What were your parents' thoughts?
The same. Actually, I was just talking about my parents. They were very open-minded, and my in-laws as well. Yeah, my in-laws were also very open to me, especially my father-in-law. But they both were open to me. My father-in-law, who is also from Barbados. My mother-in-law is actually from another Caribbean island. She's from Saint Vincent. He, one of his son-in-laws is African American as well. So
Oh.
he knew that some of us could be nice guys.
So tell me just a little bit about. I know you have to go, but tell me about the dual citizenships. How does that work? Is it that I know it's a benefit? It's great, but tell me something about the dual citizenship.
Well, dual citizenship is not something that I actually have explored. I do know a little bit about it. My wife is a U.S. citizen,
Okay.
so
Ah,
that never was a factor in our personal relationship. That's actually something I also go into my book as well, like the type of dynamics that you may have in African diaspora relationships. I talk about dating someone that's a citizen, dating someone that's a resident alien, and dating someone that's undocumented. I kind of go in those differences. I did not have that experience because my wife is ultimately a citizen. Um, Dual citizenship in Barbados is something that we've talked about, but we haven't really explored. I do know people that have taken that route, though. In the book, in addition to the statistics, I talk about the lived experiences of people in these relationships. So I go from where you can meet people from Black people from different cultures if you're interested in it. I talk
ah,
about what to expect, and I interview couples that share their experiences being in African diaspora relationships. So the dual citizenship and traveling is something that some of those couples go into.
last question. What do you find the longevity in the relationships have been?
Many of them result in lasting and harmonious relationships. Some don't stand the test of time. And I think the difference between those two is being able to learn and adapt to the cultures, having mutual respect for both cultures. So the cultural adaptation is very important for the success.
Is it a higher divorce rate or than normal?
Good question. One that I can't answer, unfortunately, because so little research has been done on these type of relationships. So I couldn't give you a specific percentage about how many end in divorce and how many last. I could just go by anecdotally some of the cases I've seen over the years, and even with that, I couldn't put a percentage on it. I just have seen some of the trends that I've seen and people that I've read about, people I've talked to, people I've interviewed. Pretty much the difference you can see is those who are able to adapt, those who respect each other's cultures tend to be longer lasting than those who don't.
Okay. Okay. I noticed there was something that you said in your book about um, fear of marrying outside of American culture.
I again wanted to answer every single question that someone may have about African diaspora relationships. So
Mhm.
what I do know is when you're talking about marrying someone from the Caribbean or marrying someone from Africa, there is a fear that what if somebody is trying to scam me? What if they're just
Scam.
trying to marry me for papers? So I refer to it as the elephant in the room. So I can't possibly talk about these type of relationships without addressing that. So I devoted a chapter in my book to it. I want to say it's the fourth chapter. So I talked a little bit about my story with my wife. I was married to an African woman before, so I talk about that marriage as well. I talk about some of the red flags you can have, some of the pitfalls to avoid. Again, I kind of break down what can happen, what to look for, and ultimately, I say that yes, there is a risk, but ultimately, I think the risk is equal to this type of risk you have in any relationship. You never know if any relationship is going to work. You don't
Mhm.
know if somebody wants you for your money. You don't know if someone wants you for your body. You never know whether someone's feelings towards you are genuine unless you give it a try. And that's ultimately my advice about African diaspora relationships. Go into it with your eyes open, but you could find love. There's no reward without risk.
Okay. All right. I love that. Would you think that it was more a concern for the male or the female in a relationship where these concerns about scamming is a concern?
Okay. All right. You're asking the hard questions, but that's fine because I do kind of dive into that anyway. I found that I think the fear and the risk is probably a little higher for women than men, but ultimately your approach to protect yourself will be the same for both. You want to know as much information and find out as much as you possibly can about your partner. You want to find out where they're from, what are conditions like in their country. It also depends on where you meet them. If you meet them in the U.S., you might have a different approach than if you meet somebody abroad. But you want to take those approaches, learn as much as you can about them, about where they're from, what type of family they're from. If they came here, why did they come here? What is their country like? Is it a peaceful country? Are they in like some type of turmoil? What would things be like if they had to return? Ask them their status. I mentioned that you will be surprised that a lot of people will be honest, about I'm undocumented or I have citizenship. You want to know what they may possibly have to gain by scamming you, and then watch, do your research, observe them over time. Does what they're telling me match what I'm learning on my own? Those are the type of process you could take, to protect yourself more. Nothing is 100%. There are no guarantees in life, but those are some things that, you could minimize your risk.
Awesome. I appreciate that. And that's on both sides. Like you said, it's the same. It could be the same in any type of relationship. So you do have to do your due diligence and really do your homework. I think that often that is the basis for failures in relationships, is because we do not do the due diligence. Hopefully I'll get a chance to get to it and read your whole book, because I think it is very fascinating. And I'll definitely get one for my sister. She's in Africa. We don't know where she is. She just took off and went. So yeah, it's yeah, she loves it. So it's the more that we know and the more that these enlightenments come to us, we can appreciate it.
We're incredibly diverse. I think that we're the most diverse group on the planet. So these type of relationships, you really can appreciate the diversity and the beauty, of black, African people.
Well, Doctor, it's been great having you here, and I'm so thankful for your wife recommending you and telling us about your book. And is there any parting words that you'd like to share with the audience before we leave?
Yes, absolutely. Again, I thank you for the opportunity. I'm thankful for God and also for the opportunity to read this book. So I would like, of course, as many people to support this book, and for anyone who is in an African diaspora relationship, is interested in learning more about Black people from different cultures. I hope you check the book out, and I hope the book is informative. I hope the book answers any questions you may have, and I hope that the book will give you a greater interest and appreciation for learning about your brothers and sisters who are born in different countries.
Hopefully they'll maybe spark new questions. It's awesome. I think it's a fascinating subject. It's so common. It's every day, but to put that light on it, I think that's just excellent.
Hidden in plain sight.
Yes, hidden in plain sight. Absolutely. So it's been a pleasure, and
Likewise.
thank you. And we will welcome you back. You think about doing a second one? I
Uh,
don't know.
Absolutely. I think there probably is more that I could say. Maybe going more into some of the differences by gender. But yeah, absolutely. The book is just launched a couple of months ago. So if the interest is there, I definitely feel that there's more to tell. So I would love to write more.
Absolutely. I think you have the interest and a little niche there. I think it's great. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. And
Thank you.
you guys have a wonderful, blessed day and good luck.